Buenas tardes, or good afternoon. Better speak the right language. Okay, creating criminals. That's the name of what I'm talking about today. How uh, children grow into criminals sometimes. One reason we have more criminals developing is that they have been controlled by fear. And what I mean by fear is punishments. From age 1 on up to high school, maybe even before age 1. For example, if there's like a group of 3-year-olds sitting in a row, very cute, in a daycare, and the daycare teacher wants to keep them in a row, and one of them gets up as a normal 3-year-old would to play or to explore, and that's how they learn by following their freedom, what they want to do. Then she bangs that child on the ground to make her sit in a row. So if a parent happened to come in at that moment, they might not even realize that that child was just put down too harshly and punished for getting up. So the parents would see all those kids in a row, very cute, and not know that there's anything wrong with how their children are being raised. And that actually happened when I was working in a daycare. That's why I knew about that example. Those children look very cute in a row, but in order to learn, they need to make mistakes and explore and do all sorts of things, especially at the age of 3. Fear is an inhibitor of learning, and so after this treatment, when they have finally become young adults, they can be very ignorant. There are often certain difficult children in any daycare or school. In grade school, these children may get out of their seats and or even attack other children. The thinking by principals and teachers also generally is that these children must be controlled for the sake of their own and other students' immediate safety, and so that the other students can learn. This is what they very often use as their reason for controlling those children who do not know how to act right. These leaders do not put primary importance on the need of these difficult children to learn. So they are quiet, but while they're scared and quiet, they aren't learning. This practice of control over learning by these antisocial children negatively affects the long-range safety of the community. For example, when they grow up, what are they going to know? Very little, and due to that ignorance, they do all sorts of criminal acts without even realizing the results of what they're doing. A lot of times, especially when they're around 20 years old, they have no idea of what could happen when they do some of the criminal things that they do, and that's because they have not been allowed to make mistakes as they're growing up. These difficult children are put on hold for years as they are maintained under fear. They're kept in their seats at school by threats or bribes, but they do little or no schoolwork. For example, a student may sit at his desk all day without doing a stitch of work. This may be because he was punished at some time for doing his work incorrectly. If he does no work at all, he won't be punished for mistakes, is probably how he figures it. Some exceptions to this rule would be those who do their schoolwork because maybe they're punished when they don't do it. And so these children do learn how to read and they learn their math pretty well, but they still don't learn how to behave socially. In fact, if they become criminals, that could be even worse than a child who doesn't know how to read, because they can do some of those big crimes, such as those banking, where some of those bankers stole millions and millions of dollars from the public. Um, who knows how much harm a big white collar crime could be. So even uh, fear is used with these students to elicit their study. So when they grow up, they're smart criminals. But this approach actually teaches self-centeredness, because the student is encouraged to study by offers of rewards or threats of punishments, instead of being told he should study to somehow help the common good, or that he should look at what he's doing and see what he's doing and see what the results are. That's why he should be encouraged to do good things, to notice exactly how what he does affects other people and other things around him and the common good. In the last instance, it's the overall common good. How is he influencing it, is what he should be learning, rather than, will they reward me? Then I'll do it. Will they punish me? Then I won't do it. That type of thinking is very self-centered. And in an adult, that type of thinking can continue this syndrome, where there are the manipulators and the enablers. Such a person might be one of those, either a manipulator or or an enabler. He's not taught responsibility for anything, but is encouraged to try to get what he wants at the moment. An example of this is a teacher may tell a student to do his reading work, and that if he does, she'll give him, now this would be in first grade, an M&M. One M&M, I was told by a teacher who did this. A child in first grade may work all day long for one M&M. But what is it teaching that child? It's teaching him to pay attention to what he's getting, and not to think about how wonderful it is to learn how to read. Look at what you can read, these wonderful stories. No, that's not the emphasis. The emphasis is on what extrinsic thing, such as an M&M that has nothing to do with reading, what is he going to receive, or what kind of punishment, which also has nothing to do with reading, is he going to get if he doesn't read. So that's the wrong kind of thinking for children. He's not given much chance to use initiative, since he's manipulated and is reacting to it, rather than freely attempting to accomplish things and learning by seeing the results of his actions, including mistakes. Now, that would be a much better way to teach him how to read. Control through fear does not encourage these children to confide in teachers. This is another problem. If they admit mistakes, they might be punished. Teachers need to have children communicate with them openly, so that they can help them learn accordingly. And this is very important for parents. When the children become teenagers, they want those children to confide in them, because if they're doing something really dangerous, it's good for the children not to be afraid, oh, I can't tell my mother, she might punish me. The child should be glad to tell the mother, and then the mother can help the child to know, oh no, you better not do that, because look at what could happen. The mother can explain it to them. But if the child doesn't trust them, that they won't punish them, if the child is afraid of punishment, then there's a lack of communication when they become teenagers, and that's when we really need to talk to children. So that's the end for today, and thank you for listening.